All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you guys for joining us for our next session, which is why your game is limited by your body. And this is going to help us to kind of get you guys ready for this golf season. I'm Erin Gangloff, CG Managing Director of Programs and Membership. So hopefully you've learned a lot already this morning, but I will forewarn you, this session is going to get you out of your seat and get you moving, which I think after the past 2 hours of talking about rules and Golf Genius, we kind of need to get up and moving. So it is my pleasure to welcome a friend of mine and a friend of the Colorado Golf Association, Dee Tidwell, who's the owner of the Colorado Golf Fitness Club. Dee is a 3-time Golf Digest Top 50 golf fitness instructor. He has coached 2 PGA Tour winners, countless amateurs, high school players, and college players. And we have worked with Dee with our Hail or Win program. He helps our players get ready for their season and get them ready for college and get that body working so that we can maximize it on the golf course. So without further ado, Dee, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Erin, thank you. Ladies, thank you. I understand I get everybody today, so I'm really excited that there's, how many again?
Oh, we had like 170 sign up. They're all coming in right now. We're about 80 right now.
Okay, cool. So I get to hang out with all y'all. So hopefully many of you didn't think that I was a female because my name can be sometimes seen as that, but my real name is Donald. My mom started calling me Dee when I was little, so that is my nickname. I'm a man. Anyway, thank you again for having me here. I'm excited to explain to you why your game is limited by your body, and then actually I'm going to provide you with a bunch of solutions, both stretches and exercises to help it move better at the end. And what I'll do, we will have a conclusion email that'll be sent out next week that will have the information that I'm going to provide for you as it relates to the stretches and exercises that we do go through, so you can actually use it at home and or use it for a warm-up, for practice and playing, etc. So you'll actually have these, what we talk about here, so that you can utilize it on your own at home. So thank you again for attending. Let's get started. And Erin already mentioned the information up at the top there. The only thing was I want you to be aware of is Eldoa. It says Eldoa trainer, and Eldoa is actually being used on the tour, both tours actually, a lot, and kind of secretly. It's kind of a little bit of a secret weapon, and that is Eldoa is basically spine, hips, AC, SC, TMJ, and pelvis decompression exercises. So for any of you who have back pain, hip pain, I would imagine most of us would raise our hands. There are solutions, specific segmental solutions that I can teach you that are called Eldoa exercises that you can do every day to help create decompression of those discs. So if you have sciatica, for example, we have one specific for L5S1, for example, and it will create decompression. So Eldoa, I just wanted to put that up there because it's so important and so crucial for performance, not just on course, but off course as it relates to being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it without pain. Okay, so just a little quick, typically what my members and clients experience on a regular basis is a decrease in their handicap. Obviously it's dedication based, right? By 3 to 8 points in less than a year. We all like that kind of stuff. Inherently, many of my clients lose anywhere from 15 to 25 pounds. That's an average that I've kind of put together over the last 20 years, both male and female, because we do talk about nutrition, which is really important on and off course, of course. They win tournaments. And for all of us who like to drive the ball further, that's always a bonus. That does happen a lot because when you get your body moving better, your swing path and your club head speed, all of that stuff changes without extra effort because all we're doing is creating more efficiency, which is awesome. I am a big proponent of saying, I'm going to help you increase your athleticism. This is across the board, doesn't matter what the sport. No matter who comes in here, my job, one of the things that I pride myself on is finding out exactly what you need, creating a plan exactly for what you need. And that revives the inner athlete. And when you move better as an athlete, you play better golf. Okay. And that's just the way it works. Or you play better racquetball, or you play better tennis or mountain biking, or whatever it is you like to do. The better athlete you are, and the more you can maintain your athleticism as you get older, the better you're going to play golf, and longevity is going to kick in, and the likelihood of injury decreases. And if you actually get injured, the severity is less, and that's what is important too. And of course, we like to beat our friends. Let's face it, it's fun to beat our friends. Okay, so I want to first start with how the body works. This right here, this is probably the most important part of what I'm going to share with you today, because when you're aware of this, it changes the way you think of how your body works, okay? So you can tell we've got, sorry if I'm spinning in my chair. Let me switch chairs because I know it might be driving you guys crazy, and I'm antsy right now because I'm excited. So hold on, let me switch chairs. That'll make my butt sit still. All right, thank you. So pink oval and yellow oval. So we have mobility and stability. So the body is basically a stacking mechanism of mobile segments connected by stable joints. So if we start at the bottom of the skeleton here, the foot, and these are mostlies, okay? These are mostlies. Yes, a lot of joints combine and they do both. They perform both a mobile and a stable role, but we're just going to kind of classify them grossly here. Stability, the foot needs to be stable. We need a nice platform upon which our body can stay connected to the ground, right? And so that needs to be stable. We talk about foot mechanics and how the foot is creating and part of the ground reaction force system as it moves up the body all the way to the hands, wrist, and eventually the club head, right? So the foot needs to be stable so that the ankle can be mobile, and that's the first mobile joint. Okay. I'm not plugged in. That's my only thing. I know I'm full, but I just want to make sure I don't run out. So anyway, so ankle needs to be mobile. And if we look at our foot, and if you just go like this with your foot, we know that there's a huge amount of mobility there. We got 360 articulation, we got plantar flexion, we got all kinds of good stuff, right? And that ankle is what allows the force to begin to work up the body. On top of that is the knee. We kind of know that the knee is like the elbow. It basically goes in one direction. It does have the ability to micro move the knee, but it doesn't really rotate a whole lot. We're just talking about a few degrees. So because most of the rotation of the leg takes place at the ankle and the hip, right? And I always say that the knee is a slave joint to the function or the dysfunction of the hip and the ankle. So if you have a knee issue, you got to look at the ankle. If you have a knee issue, you have to look at the hip and look at those functions and clear those up first. Then most of the time it takes off a lot of stress that you get pain-wise in the knee. Hopefully that makes sense. So as we move up, we go to the hip. The hip, we got a lot of articulation in the hip, right? We can go here. We've got the ability to hinge into golf posture, right? We can go here and here, which is the same as hinging, but opposite. So that huge, strong joint of the hip is able to move in all kinds of different directions. And that is one of the most important joints as it relates to being a golfer, an athlete in general, but golfers specifically, because that's where our pelvis is allowed to move from, obviously both sides of the hips. And when you get tight hips, whether hip joint or musculature, then that can definitely create a tight pelvis, which then creates rigidity up the spine and prevents the upper body from moving well most of the time. And without good functioning hips or hip sockets, hip joints, it's very difficult to create any kind of club head speed. And so if you're struggling with speed, club head speed, ball speed, etc., and even consistency as it relates to your shot directions, a lot of times the hips are going to be something that we look at a lot, actually, because Hips allow for a good setup in the backswing, and then hips allow for that unwinding of that good rotation, setup rotation in the backswing, coming down through transition and into impact. So really important. Now, stability, you can see that big circle in the middle. As the joint of the hips is really important to the body moving, the core is really important as it relates to stability. Now, most people think the core is just the abs, right? But it's really the booty too. We got to include the what I call, or TPI calls, the king and the queen. They work together. And so when I do my screenings on people, my clients, most kings are sleeping at the throne. So hopefully, because a lot of people will spend time on do this ab exercise, do this core exercise, and it tends to be abdominally based to the exclusion of what the glutes are doing. So all of my programs include a ton of glute work, because the glute is really one of the most important muscles that relates to the pelvis, because the pelvis is like the body's lower body brain. It's the body's second brain, according to Dr. Guy, who created the LDOA system, by the way. It is very complex, especially for females, because you ladies are blessed with the ability to have and create and have children. And so that's a very important thing that creates even more complexity in the pelvis than for us men. So stability is the abs and the glutes. So don't forget that. Now, moving up, we got the second most important mobility part besides the hip, and that's the torso. So torso is my rib cage. Just think everything rib cage. That's my torso. So your torso is designed to rotate, just like your hips are designed to move and articulate in 360-degree directions. Let's call it. So without mobility in the T-spine, you also have limited ability to express any kind of good rotation setup-wise, and then speed creation at transition and then into impact. So that's why hips and T-spine mobility is really important. Now, here is something really important for you to know. If you have low back pain, most of the time it's because your hip and your T-spine are tight and your core is weak. Okay, does that make sense? You can also apply the same thing, and I said it earlier, like if you have knee pain typically is because there's tightness in the hip and the ankle. You see this little kind of form that's creating where there's a stable joint. It's usually in the middle of two mobiles, and if the mobiles are tight, it creates more stress on the stable joint. Okay, same thing applies all through this chain. As we move up for mobility, the lower part of the neck needs to be stable, because you can see that tiny little oval just at the base of the skull. That needs to be mobile, because at C1, C2, that's vertebrae number 1, vertebrae number 2 of the neck, that's where we get most of our neck rotation. And if you didn't know, golf is a neck rotation sport, just like this. That's what you do in a golf swing, because we do this. Why is that different than this? It's not. So if you have a neck issue, it can absolutely affect your body's ability to turn, which is why I encourage my clients to get dry needle trigger point therapy, and definitely have a regular chiropractor. Make sure that your spine and your pelvis are in good alignment. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's move to, can you see my, oh, you can see my cursor. Look at that. This one here, we got stability. That is the scapula. Okay, so a lot of times we'll get trigger points, and most people know that because we get the trigger points and it's tight and it, doesn't feel that good, and we get tense through there. And a lot of times that's related to poor posture. Poor posture. How many of you just sat up right then? Because I did. Good, because it's really important. So the stability of the scapula is very important. We call the scapula region, this stability is like the glute of the arm, or the glute for the arm. Okay, so your scapular stabilizers really need to be strong, so that in our next joint, the mobile joint, It's funny, I keep pointing to it like you guys can see this or not, but the next mobile joint, which is our rotator cuff, is kind of like our hip. It can articulate in all these different directions, but the difference is the shoulder joint, the only bone that holds your arm to your body is your clavicle. That's it. The rest is muscle, which is why it's so complex. Whereas the hip, it's bone, right? So your little tiny joint right here is the only one that essentially holds your entire arm and shoulder to your body, and the rest is muscle. Okay, so that's why it's so important to make sure that you have good mechanics as it relates to your posture, because if you don't, then you get neck issues, okay? You get low back issues, mid back issues. All of these things kind of cascade into pain and dysfunction. Okay, and then we go stability. Elbow's pretty simple. It's like the knee. It does move. It is important as it relates to elbow issues that it gets adjusted too, because the radius and the ulnar here, a lot of golfers get our pain, right? Let's see, where am I? We go here and here, right? So we got to make sure that our forearms work well so that our wrist, which is the last mobility segment, our wrist can move well, okay? Wrist issues can become a problem, obviously, for golfers. So we always look at, well, what's the elbow doing and what's the shoulder doing as it relates to wrist issues? And then the last stability one, because I can talk a long time for this and I don't want to run out of time, is stability. So we need to have stability in our fingers and our hands so we can grip strength, which is similar to the foot, right? So it goes all the way back to the feet. The foot and the hand play similar roles, all right? So I love this chart because it teaches you so much about yourself. And then it starts to pique these little ideas in your brain like, hey, maybe this is such and such, or maybe this is such and such. So if you ever have questions about that, definitely ask. So I like goofy stuff. And this is goofy because most amateurs, whap! This guy's the awesomest. So I look at people and I go, okay, there's a huge sway. Look at where his head's over his rear foot. How's he going to get his hips over there? Well, he's going to move his foot, take his back foot off, and he's still looking at the ball. That was awesome. The squatter, excessive knee bend, doesn't use his hips. Like, what? Hilarious. Okay. Now, all right. This guy literally, let's see, okay, so this is 44 seconds. This guy all the way to 221 doesn't hit the ball. He does this the whole time. Anyway, I had to throw some fun in there. My point in showing you this stuff is our golf swing. Come on, let's move it. Our golf swing, where is there it is. There's really a body swing connection, right? So if you have limitations in our prior slide with the mobility stability model, it's going to show up in potential movement pattern discrepancies. And typically these are the ones we hear in the industry. Things like loss of posture. Okay, so loss of posture. Let's see if I can show these here. Loss of posture would be here, here, there, there. Anything where you lose the ability to maintain the original posture that you started with. Flat shoulder plane would be going here. I get flat, okay? I sway like that one guy in the video. I reverse spine. C posture. S posture, which I can't do very well, which is a lot of roundedness here. So my spine looks like an S. Early extension, if we go line on the butt, and with impact, we're going here, that's early extension. We all know over the top, right? We slide, which is toward the target. We hang back, which is what that other guy did, right? On the back leg. We cast, we scoop, and we chicken wing, okay? So those are kind of the 12 body swing connection swing faults. I'll just keep it simple. that happens when your body isn't moving optimally. All right. So the TPI motto, excuse me, is we do not believe there's one way to swing a golf club. What we do believe is there is one way that you swing a golf club, and it's based off of what your body can do. So these three pictures I chose because each one of these guys have, and this obviously applies to the ladies. I couldn't find that great of pictures for the ladies, so I just kept these ones. But if you look at Furyk's, you know, we all wonder how Furyk makes it work and how successful he is, because his paths are awesome. But you could tell that with Furyk, there's a lot of hip rotation combined with this crazy amount of side bend. It's almost like backward side bend too, and upper thoracic extension. Okay, and he's staying super tight to the body. I mean, geez, his right forearm is probably hitting his right quad here, right? The cool thing about it though, for him, is you still don't see him early extending. Same thing, I think this is Padraig. He's not coming off the line. And then with Ernie does do a little bit of an early extension, but it's okay. Early on in TPI back, I don't know, 6 years or so, we still thought that things like early extension were bad. But then as TPI just started getting more data from their players, they realized that most PGA Tour players have like one of those swing faults that they struggle with, but it's okay because they know how to. Like it's part of their engram, and that's okay. So in this case, he's into his left hip well and seems to be a little bit more balanced with his right side bend compared to, say, Furyk, where you can see he's more flexed and Furyk's a little more extended. And then with Ernie, he's got a little bit of that early extension, like I said, and then his thoracic flexion, and he's got a little bit more reach here too, as you can tell, compared to the other guys as he's out more front. So all this to say that there is no one way to swing a golf club. So if a golf pro ever tells you that, I think it's inappropriate without considering how well your body moves, okay? And that's why, you know, I try to work with as many TPI certified instructors, because we can pass that information back and forth. I can do a screen on you, and I can say, hey, you know, such and such player, she's got this, this, and this, and so it's going to show up in her swing as this, this, and this. So when you're doing your instruction with them, just know that it's a physical issue and it's not a brain or an understanding of a golf swing issue, if that makes sense. Okay. So understanding your body creates your golf swing and your swing faults. Let's see what your body can do. So here's where we're going to stand up and have some fun. Now, bear with me, because I'm going to go out here into my gym where, one, I can see a clock, and two, we can get ready to do some movement and exercise. I'm going to move my camera so I get a little shaky for a second. Hey, isn't this a perfect day to do this presentation stuff too, because of the weather? Gotta love it. Of course, I might have difficulty getting, there we go, getting this thing on. So what we're gonna do, everybody stand up with me, because we're gonna do, I gotta put this in front of my computer or it's gonna look really funny. Pelvic tilt. So pelvic tilt for a golfer is really important because, hopefully you can see me now, we have to make sure that we have a neutral pelvis position. Okay, so we need to know how to pelvic tilt. So everybody do what I'm doing, getting into your 5-iron. And I want you to cross your arms like such. Okay, so into your 5-iron. And then you're just going to do what I'm going to do. Let me see if I can arrange it so I'm close. So watch my pelvis. This is my neutral pelvis at golf setup, 8-5. Okay, I'm going to have you arch your back and then tuck your butt. Okay, so arching and tucking, arching and tucking. So if you have a problem doing that, I could have said do that in front of a mirror too, but I know that's probably not like feasible where your location is. But what I see a lot of people doing are a couple things, and that is this. They can't do it, so they do this, because their pelvis doesn't move. They might be able to do one, but they can't do the other. Or maybe they go from here and they can do this, but they can't do this. So there's a limitation somewhere in the pelvis. And that's really important because if I'm here and I go to the top of my backswing, I have a neutral spine, I still have my original neutral pelvis, okay? If I early extend, that's a problem with pelvic tilt. If I'm going, when I go to create my ground reaction forces, to get it to my club head, it's got to go all the way through my core, through my torso, to my arms, to my club, right? So if I'm here, in order to do that, my abs have to contract. And when my abs contract, it pulls my rib cage closer to my lead leg and my pelvis. And when that happens, it makes my spine round. Okay, so when you go to BizHub Swing Vision on YouTube and you watch down the line, you're gonna see neutral, 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 butt tuck, okay? But if you can't do the butt tuck in this screen, then you're not gonna be able to create those ground reaction forces and get them to the club head. They stop because you can't use your abs correctly. Does that make sense? To take from that, from the legs to the upper body. Okay, so that's why the pelvic tilt is really important. Okay, so potential swing faults show up as C and S posture, or bad posture, if you will, because if you don't know where your pelvis is in space, right, you can be here, okay, or you can be here, right? That will contribute to coming over the top, because if your pelvis doesn't work well and I'm here, that kind of stuff can happen. Flat shoulder plane is a posture related, an original posture related. Okay, if your pelvis doesn't work, your hips don't work well. Loss of posture, which is similar to the flat shoulder plane, any kind of loss of posture but is typically related because your butt and your pelvis can't, your hips can't keep you in the same position. Most amateurs, their problems start when their head moves. That's what I find. Okay, that can be related to pelvic tilt, early extension, and then chicken wing. Of course, if you come over the top and you cast, then you're going to chicken wing most likely. So how'd you do on that one? That's the question. So you can do these later in front of a mirror just to see how well you did. And that is important to determine. Man, I hope I don't run out of time. Pelvic rotation. So again, 5 iron. Let's go here, 5 iron, arms crossed. You're gonna be facing me. Okay, this time I wanna see how well can you rotate your lower body without moving your upper body. This is all about separation. Okay, we're looking at the mobility, the hips, the spine, and the pelvis. And then of course the stability of the core, okay? So the hips can be mobile. You have to be stable here so your hips can be mobile, okay, on that. That usually people will, they can't figure it out, or they'll slide and sway because they don't know how to rotate, or you know, maybe one side will be good and then the other one they're like, oh, can't get to the other side. Well, I've had left hip pain for a long time, or left SI joint pain for a long time. See, you have to be able to do things bilaterally so that you can do things bilaterally. So that makes sense. So hopefully that pelvic rotation makes sense. Now, you can turn this into a drill if you find yourself having difficulty with it by putting your hands on like a countertop or even the top of a foam roller real lightly to create stability. And I can work on separating, because this creates stability. I don't move, and then I can move my pelvis. Let's just, you can't see me, so I'm just going to pretend like I have 2 foam rollers. But see, I've got stability enough, and you can work on this part. I suggest you do that if you find any difficulty doing the pelvic rotation, okay? You can see your potential swing faults, similar to the one before. I'm not going to go into them because we still have a lot of work to do. Okay, last screen. Torso rotation. From here, now we're going to keep the downstairs still, and we're going to rotate the upper body. So 5 iron golf posture with your arms crossed, head still, pelvis still, turning the torso. Okay, and again, like I can tell, okay, where did my elbow get? Oh. Okay, so I can't turn my torso, upper body, very well to the left. That person's going to have a problem, for example, getting into impact and then finishing well, right? So as a professional, I can see where the body is creating limitations in your swing. And it also tells me to, if you have an upper cross syndrome, which are tight chest, rounded shoulders, because my chest attaches here and all my arm and right up here. So if this gets short, it brings me into rounded shoulders, right? When that happens, my back is then longer, weaker, and my brain says, oh, I need to get this back, so I need to start pulling it back, okay? And that's where those trigger points and soreness come in, and that's why posture is so important, okay? So real quick, stand up. If you were a puppet or a marionette and you had a screw in the top of your head and a string attached to it, and we went like this, that's how you fix your posture. You literally just push the crown of your head to the ceiling. Crown of the head to the ceiling. And you can see my head comes back, my chest comes up naturally, my shoulder blades center well. You don't have to do this kind of thing because I can still be in poor posture and squeeze my shoulder blades together, but it hasn't changed my spine angle. So that is your posture correction. Getting long, okay? There's my little aspect for really, that was number 2 thing that I taught you today that was really important. Okay.
Hey, Dee, there was a question. Hey, Dee, there was a question really quick on one of those. He's asking, is your knee slightly bent?
That's a good question. On all of these, right, on all the tests, it'll be your 5-iron. So to answer your question specifically, yes, they are always soft, not excessive, and not straight. But that shouldn't be your golf posture setup anyway. So they should be soft. And I always tell people, athletic is either vertical because my butt's back, or just a little bent past vertical. Anything more than that is not correct golf posture. Helpful? Okay, so solutions. We like solutions. I love solutions. Stretching and mobility. So what I'm going to show you now, you can use for daily overall life, for practice and play. Now, okay. So these stretches and these exercises to come are designed, and I chose them because they actually can help any of the specific issues in those 3 screening tests that you might have come up with, so that these can open up your body in that mobility and stability model that I showed you. If that makes sense, okay? So let's get working. And everybody's favorite, foam rolling, right here. If you don't have one, get one. You can buy ones that are half this length that are cheaper. You can buy them anywhere now. It doesn't really matter. But what I want you to do with them, for example, is glutes. One way to do that is to sit on it and just lean to one side and roll out that butt cheek. Of course, you would do the other side, okay? Now, there's a thing called the IT band, and you've heard that before. It's right here exactly on the side of your body. I don't have people do that because it's just this huge ropey thing that can actually toe apart. It's so strong. That's not going to change its tensility because of that. What we do is we do the right to the top of it and right to the bottom of it. So you got the hamstring here and the quad. And so you just brace yourself and just roll slowly and just creep along through it, okay? You can also use a handheld stick, like a massage stick, and even a golf club, okay? The groin is really important for golfers. And so one thing you would do on that is to get it like such, okay? Where I have a perpendicular foam roller to my quad. I've got a 90 degree in my knee, and I'm just gonna roll that leg out, and you're gonna roll through all of this groin tissue, the adductors, because in the adductors, in my backswing, if my left adductor groin is tight, it will limit my rotation. If my right is tight, it's going to limit my ability to get onto my left side and get into a strong impact position. So working these groin muscles and making sure that they're mobile is really important, all the way up where they attach, okay? Now, the lat attaches here on your pelvis, comes all the way up, huge muscle, and attaches right next to the chest. Remember how I told you the chest attaches on your arm? Well, the lat attaches right next to it. So if my lats are tight, I go into my backswing, here's my lat, and all of a sudden it's tight. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. Okay, here's where swing faults come into play. So you can work the foam roller by laying on it. This one doesn't always feel good, just so you know. None of them really do. So if you're a rookie at this, just be easy. Don't crush yourself, and err on the side of less than more, okay? But really for the lat, you just roll your arm. Notice my arm is just dragging along. This can take pressure off here and here, and I'm just kind of working. Now, you can also, you can do it up against the wall. You like how I'm all over the place? You can do it against the wall like such. Hopefully you see me. Can you see me over there? Yeah, you saw me. Okay, good. So you can do things like that on the wall. You can do the foam roller on the wall too if you wanted to. So can't do the groin, that would be a little problematic, but those are kind of the basic ways that you would use your foam roller to help work through trigger points and adhesions in your fascia and in your muscles, okay? Stop me if there's questions, although we're cruising.
So
Okay,
far, so good.
hamstring stretch. I'm gonna go this way because there's too much light over there. We're white enough as it is. I don't need to be made whiter. No peak of our whiteness in winter here. Okay, hamstring length. So on this one, we'll go bottom leg straight. Even though it shows bent, I prefer straight. However, if when you do this, it makes your back arch, and I can put a lot of, like my hand under this, then I would prefer that you bend your knee a little bit so that you can get your back to be neutral or flat again, okay? So I just take my hands, grab behind my hamstrings here. It's like two little grips. From here, my head is neutral and flat. If your head can't go all the way on the ground, you put a pillow underneath it. And I just bend it and I straighten it. Now, notice that my elbows are straight. They're not here. They're here because I want my quad to be vertical. I'm going to put this down. And it's always vertical when my elbows are straight. And then here, you go here. Now, if I was teaching this to men, most men would get about right here. But you ladies are more flexible than us men, so you may be able to get a fully straight leg. If you can, pull your toes in, that'll make it a little more tight. Excuse me, a little more of a stretch, okay? So we do both sides, and you do anywhere like 8 to 10 reps, something like that, okay? I'm gonna get back in front of my computer.
So Dee, one of the questions was going back to the foam roller, how
Yep.
many times a week should they do that to get results?
Yeah, it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be based off of what your body can tolerate. So because foam rolling, if you're new to it, can make you sore, and you really do, I'm cautioning you, really, like I said, go slow and just do it maybe once. Do it again in a couple of days. Once you, put it this way, you never want to feel bruised or see a bruise, for sure. Absolutely not. So err on the side of doing it maybe every other day to start, or like a Monday, Thursday, Monday type thing if you're not used to it. And then eventually you get to the point where you can do it every other day. And hopefully by the time you put some time into it, you'll start to notice it doesn't really work that well anymore, which is great. Then you can go to like a once a week maintenance, something like that, or whenever you feel like you need it.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, next one, ball chest. Ball chest stretch. So this is the one that's going to help us get our chest loosened up. So if you don't have a ball, this can be an ottoman, it could be a chair, it can be anything, it doesn't matter. But I'm going to go 90 degrees hips and knees. My hand is right below my shoulder, and this arm that I'm stretching is 90 degrees on top of the ball. And it's not here because I can't get my chest down, because the goal is to get this to go to the floor while this stays where it is, thus lengthening the chest. So I get out here so I have room, my elbows stay straight, and then I lower my chest to the floor, keeping this left elbow straight, till I can't go any farther. And then you can hold for 20, 30 seconds, or you can do like a 5-second push down with your arm, and then a 5-second relax where now I can go a little further down, and I relax in this new position for 5 seconds, and then I push again, 5 seconds, and then I relax for 5 seconds. Okay, so that's, it's just, you're creeping into greater ranges, okay? But if all else fails, just hold it for 30 seconds and do each side 1 to 2 times. And with stretching in general, if you find that there's one side that is tighter than the other, do that tighter side more than the non-tight side. Again, because we're looking to find that symmetry, okay?
Dee, can you do that in a doorway?
Yes, and I was going to say that right before I moved it. So let's do, I'm just going to show you on the wall, because the wall on a doorway worked the same way. So I got to, okay, so I would just take my 90 degrees. If this was a doorway, it doesn't matter, or a wall. Then I go opposite foot forward, and I just push my chest this direction as I kind of sink into it. So you can totally do that. If it was a doorway, it would be the exact same thing as I just showed you there. So it's a good question, and yes. Modification is really easy to do with a lot of these things. Okay, reach backs. Reach backs. Gotta keep cruising. Sorry if I seemed a little rushed. I'm trying to cram a whole bunch of stuff with information for you guys. So we'll just keep motoring. Okay, reach backs. Same good position that I showed you earlier. Now we'll go hand behind the neck, not behind the head, the neck. And you can even go here, it doesn't matter. We reach elbow to elbow, and then I turn my chest, my head, and my elbow up to the sky. Back down, turning it. Okay, so we're working on separation, right? I'm separating my torso from my pelvis, which is tips. And we're really working on the separation aspect. This is really important to do. If you want to reach, you can reach under and reach up. You can reach under and reach up. That's fine too. Okay, but you really want to focus on turning your chest and your torso. That's what the goal is on this one. And we're letting your head go with you, so it's a little bit easier. Oh, there's my low battery. Okay, hold on. I got to go grab my cord. Ah.
Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat and or the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. And this way we can get those answered for you. Additionally, too, if you're need to see, I'm trying to switch the video, but if it's not working for you, you can also switch back and forth on his PowerPoint and actually what you're seeing him doing.
Oh, gosh, that was scary. Okay. Whew. Sorry, thank you. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense with the reach backs, where obviously it's important to get that 90 degrees. And that comes from getting your hips to 45 and allowing your torso to move as well. Whew. Okay, lacrosse ball. Or a tennis ball. So I wanted to grab a baseball too, but if you have a baseball, lacrosse ball, tennis ball, anything ball-like, this is where you can really get into doing your own self-massage for yourself to make you feel better, similar to the foam roller, except now we're super specific. Okay, this is rubber. I always tell people buy 3. Keep one in your golf bag, because you can do this anywhere on course if your back starts to hurt. Home, office, okay? But really, remember the mobile areas, glute, torso? That's where you put them. And I'm just rolling. I'm searching and destroying. Okay, find the trigger point, sit there and work on it. It's a great thing to do like foam rolling when you're watching TV or something. For the torso, you just put it and you work through all of that upper back stuff. There's no real way to do it or right way to do it. It's more about where you feel like you need it, okay? All right.
Dee, really quick, we've got a couple of questions. First of all, when you're doing that pelvic rotation, do the knees stay forward?
Pelvic rotation, let's go back to it. Oh, pelvic rotation, yes, the test. They do not. Well, I can't give it away. Gosh, okay. So when you go into your backswing, pelvic rotation, the knees move based off of where your pelvis is going, right? So they will move as your pelvis moves. Your knees are not supposed to stay still during the backswing. So let's see, I'm looking at myself, it's backwards. So in my backswing, my right hip goes, okay, if I had a string that attached to my right hip, front of my hip, to my knee, and I rotate it backwards, that's going to pull my knee, right? Your knee has to come in your backswing. It should never be straight. That's as far as I can turn until I let my knee go. So yes, and it's the same thing with follow through, right? That knee has to follow that hip. So hopefully that makes sense.
Thanks, Dee. And then also, does it matter the size of the foam roller?
No,
They're doing those?
you can
Okay.
use a pool noodle if you want. It'll be less effective, but it still works.
Perfect.
Cool. Okay, stability workout. You can do this every other day. 1 to 2 sets of each exercise. If you're new to exercising, do 1 set. Start with low reps, like 8. Work up to say 15. If you want to make it more metabolic, you can go back-to-back exercises with no rest. And when you get to the end of the exercises, you rest for a minute and you start back over on the first exercise and you do a second set, okay? This is the base of the performance pyramid that I call. We want a wide base so that we can make a really tall performance triangle. If you have a narrow base of a triangle, it falls, okay? So we like wide bases. Clam shells. Ooh, we got a whip. Clam shells. I'm gonna go 90 hip, 90 knee. Spine is straight, head is straight. I'm gonna open and close. All I'm doing is lifting my one ankle off, top ankle off the bottom ankle. You can also do it this way where you lift top knee off bottom knee, okay? These are going to stabilize lateral hips, which can prevent sway and slide, okay? And also create strength and stability for that hip so that it moves best, right? That also takes stress off the lower back. So either way, both are different. You can do 8 each, okay? And you would flip over and you do the same thing on the other side, if that makes sense, okay? So pretty simple. I think a lot of us have done those because of therapy and back pain issues and whatever else. Alternating Superman's a great posterior chain strengthening and posture exercise. I think a lot of us have done these too, where Superman, but my arms are out at 30 degrees or so, with my thumbs up. My head is, really you're trying to squish your nose. We'll put your forehead on the floor, and we go opposite arm and leg lift. And what you want to do is lift your arm higher than your butt. You don't want to get way up here because that changes your pelvis and spine position. Just use your glute to lift the leg, just like we're using that upper body glute to lift the arm. Opposites. Opposites. Okay, you can do that on a Swiss ball too. And that's good because we're putting rotational stress through the spine because it's going in diagonal pattern. Okay, that's a great one to do if you have back pain too. Bridges. The classic booty slash king worker. 90 degrees hips, or excuse me, knees, sorry. 45-degree hips. Neutral spine, palms up, head neutral. Tuck and roll, roll, back to neutral. Tuck and roll back to neutral. Squeezing the glutes. Make sure your butt is doing almost all the work. You'll feel a little bit of hamstring, but you should be doing almost all glutes. Okay, kneeling chops. see if I can turn this all around without my system coming unplugged. I'm running out of time. Ah. Okay, stop. Can you see me?
Gotcha.
Okay. So kneeling chops, you put it somewhere in your door. Sorry, I'm way over here. Yeah, I'll make it over here. Somewhere in your door, kneeling, hands are about shoulders width apart, head still, and this is the exercise to strengthen the core and the torso move. We were working it in a flexibility mode earlier. Now we're strengthening it, and we're just keeping the elbows straight. And think of the arms as an extension of what my torso is doing, okay? So I have a rectangle. This base side of the rectangle is turning the other side with straight sides of the rectangle, just like such. Of course, you can do that at a gym on a cable machine as well. By the way, you can't get strong with bands. You can only get strong with cable machines, but it's better to do something with bands than not to do anything at all, okay? Square stance row. So this, again, you can put in the door, around the doorknob, whatever. You can just make sure it's a safe attachment point. Good standing, knee soft posture, belly in. Got our posture going, and I'm going to do a good pull. Squeezing the shoulder blades together, okay? Squeezing my shoulder blades together, pulling my elbows back, not down here, not up here, but we kind of find this little 45-degree good smooth spot there to fall into. That is a great stability exercise for posture. As we loosen this up, we strengthen the back, okay? Chop. Oh man, oh cool, 2 more, I can do it. Chop. Like that self-talk, I can do it, I can do it. So you can do a chop from anywhere. It can be from the top, it can be from horizontal. Either way, take the handle, put your outside hand on it, inside hand on it, and we turn, just like we had a rectangle before, now we got a triangle. Same idea. The base of the triangle is turning my hands. Wherever my button turns, my handle is. It's not this, okay? Because I can do this without turning my chest. It's rotation of my torso. And we just use hands to help promote or have an extension of my torso that's turning. And that works those entire oblique core action, which is so important. Okay. Hip twisters. You can do this before you play as a warm-up with a golf club. So we're here. I showed it to you earlier, but just twisting, right? Here, if you can do it. Here, if you can do that, I wrap my knee around and then I do this. That's like the ultimate. I'm getting tons of single leg work. I'm getting my torso, fixed pelvis. We're working on separation. Oh, where am I? 2 minutes left. Oh gosh. Thank you for your patience on being fast. Yeah. Okay, questions. I'll answer as many as I have time for. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So Dee, it looks like I'm a fairly well-endowed woman who gets interference with my transition to impact. Any suggestions?
I imagine you're talking about the size of your bust.
Yes.
Okay. From transition to impact, your torso, okay, they're still attached to your torso. So you still have to think about, typically posture-wise, is this happens for you ladies who happen to be bigger, right? You get a steeper thoracic spine and it gets stuck and tight, okay? So working on loosening up that thoracic spine. And then we also have to make sure that your shoulder blades move well. And then you can maximize those two things in their ability to move. They are going to be in the way, but if you can get the primary movers, okay, again, scapulas and your torso to move, it should help.
Don't have any other questions right now.
Cool.
Anybody else?
So there's a discount for you guys, for you ladies. $50 for a full TPI golf fitness assessment. And at the end of that, what we can talk about is how your body showed, where it was tight, where it was weak, and how it was maybe contributing to your golf game issues related to maybe some swing faults or patterns, etc. And then we can talk about solutions that are specifically designed for you as well. And there's all my contact.
Great, Dee. Thank you so much. And just as a reminder, we will be sending out a post email next week with not only all the videos from today, so you can go back and rewatch all of this, but also we'll give you information and the exercises, if I'm correct, Dee.
Totally correct.
So we will be giving you guys that information so that you guys can start working on this at home. Don't get too sore.
No, start easy.
And so thank you so much, Dee, for going through this. Again, we'll give you guys all this information. And now that we've actually put Dee through his own workout today, running around, we do thank you for that. As for the rest of our sessions today, at 12:30 will be our Laura Shepard Churchley interview. And you guys can go to that link, and it'll also be on our website if you get out of the Reg Fox link, and be sure to watch that. And for those attending the CGA Club Roundtable, that will begin at 1 o'clock. So we'll see some of you back on here. If not, we want to thank all of you for attending. And once again, Dee, thank you so much.
You're welcome, ladies. Have a good one. Take care.
Thank you.